Wait for a second. Breathe in slow. Hold it. Now, let it go. Because something has shifted, and if you have felt it too, stay with me until the end. If one person has been on your mind again and again with no clear reason, if their energy feels close even in the silence, if your heart keeps sensing something your eyes still cannot confirm, then this message may be finding you at the exact right moment. Something is building quietly behind the scenes, not later, not someday, now. The person connected to your emotions is starting to lose control over what they feel for you, and the next step they take may show everything they have been trying so hard not to say. On the outside, nothing may look dramatic. Life keeps moving. Days pass. Silence grows. But under that silence, something has been growing for a long time. Their thoughts keep returning to you. Their feelings are getting louder, their resistance is getting weaker, and the strange part is this. The more they tried to pull away, the deeper they fell into the truth of this bond. So listen closely. Before this ends, you may finally understand why your intuition has been stronger lately, why your spirit has felt restless, and why this story feels like it is standing right at the edge of a major turn. Stay here. Do not skip this part. What is happening now has been building longer than you think, and the energy around this connection is no longer quiet in the way it used to be. They tried to stay in control. They tried to act calm. They tried to tell themselves this was only a passing feeling, just attraction, just curiosity, just something that would fade with time. But it did not fade. It stayed. It followed them into quiet nights, into random memories, into crowded places where nothing should have reminded them of you, and into songs that suddenly felt heavier than before. Even normal moments began to carry your presence. They kept moving like nothing had changed inside them, but everything had changed. That is why the energy feels different now. What they once buried is becoming harder to hide. Every time they pushed this connection away, it came back stronger. Every time they tried to ignore it, something inside kept pulling them back toward you. Little by little, what once felt manageable became something they could no longer deny. Some people enter a life and leave a memory. Others enter and completely change another person's emotional world. That is what happened here. You were never meant to be small in their heart. You were never meant to be easy to forget. Deep down, they already know that now, and that truth unsettles them more than they want to admit. On the surface, they may still seem distant. They may still act like everything is fine. They may still move slowly, hesitate, or hide behind silence. But behind that image, there has been a private storm. Every delayed reply, every step back, every mixed signal, every sudden change in energy. None of it came from emptiness. It came from inner conflict. It came from someone feeling something real and not knowing how to carry it without changing their whole life. Because real connection does that. It asks for honesty. It asks for change. It asks people to drop old habits, old patterns, and old fears. And that is exactly what scared them. To move toward you honestly would mean they could no longer hide from themselves. They would have to face what this bond woke up in them. They would have to accept that this is different. They would have to let go of the version of themselves that stays guarded and emotionally far away. Part of them was afraid of that. Afraid that once they stepped into this truth, nothing inside them would go back to the way it was before. But something is shifting now. Fear is not leading as strongly as it did. Desire is growing. Longing is growing. The cost of staying silent is becoming heavier than the fear of speaking. And when silence starts hurting more than vulnerability, movement begins. You may already be seeing small signs, but not fully trusting them yet. Their name shows up in your thoughts more often. Their memory comes back without warning. You feel their energy at strange hours of the day or night. The connection feels active even without contact. That is not just imagination. That is emotional movement under the surface. They are beginning to feel your absence in a deeper way now, not only as distance, but as loss. And that changes everything. Because when someone realizes that losing you would hurt more than opening their heart, their emotional control begins to break. What once felt safe no longer feels safe. The distance that once protected them now feels cold. The silence that once gave them power now feels heavy. Stay with me, because this is where the story starts turning. You are not just someone they think about once in a while. You have become emotionally present in their inner world in a way they cannot fully escape. One memory can pull them in. One quiet moment can bring everything back. A small pause in the day can undo the control they worked so hard to build. And if you have felt this pressure too, if your own intuition has been telling you that something is changing, do not brush it off too quickly. Sometimes awareness moves first and reality follows later. Something is building on both sides of this connection. That is why they have seemed inconsistent. One moment close, the next far away. One moment open, the next withdrawn. It is not because they feel nothing. It is because they feel too much and do not know what to do with it. Emotional distance is often misunderstood. It does not always mean lack of care. Many times, it means the exact opposite. It means care without clarity, feeling without direction. You did not simply enter their life as attraction. You touched emotional places in them that had been quiet for years. You challenged walls they thought would always stay standing. You made old defenses feel shaky. You stirred honesty in them. You stirred hope in them. And hope can feel frightening to someone who has learned to live without expecting too much. At first, they thought logic would help them detach. They thought time would make things easier. They thought distance would make you less important. But the opposite happened. Distance made your presence clearer, absence made your impact stronger, silence made your importance louder, and now a truth is settling inside them. What they found with you cannot be easily replaced, copied, or recreated. That truth is becoming harder to ignore because the heart eventually gets tired of running from what it already knows. Lately, they have been restless in ways they cannot fully explain. Other conversations feel less alive. Other connections feel less meaningful. Other moments do not reach the depth they once expected. In quiet hours, they compare everything back to you without even meaning to. The feeling, the energy, the honesty, the emotional depth, every comparison weakens their resistance a little more. This is the stage where acceptance starts, not complete acceptance yet, but the kind that begins softly. A thought that appears late at night, a realization that cannot be pushed away anymore. A truth that says this connection is real, and ignoring it is becoming harder than facing it. Once that point is reached, behavior starts changing before any final decision is made. Their attention gets sharper, their curiosity returns, their emotional awareness grows. They become more sensitive to your silence, more aware of your distance, and more affected by the thought that you may not wait forever. The next move they make may seem sudden to you, but it will not be sudden for them. It will be the result of a long inner struggle finally reaching its edge. A message, a call, a confession hidden inside a simple conversation. A return that feels unexpected but has actually been forming for a long time. What changed everything was not only your presence, it was what your presence awakened. You brought emotional honesty to the surface. You stirred vulnerability. You stirred longing. You stirred reflection. Most of all, you awakened the possibility that love could be real, deep, and meaningful. And for someone who learned to survive through control, that kind of awakening changes everything. Many people build emotional distance to protect themselves. They create routines. They create walls. They avoid needing anyone too much. Then one real connection appears and quietly moves through all of it, without force, without warning, without asking permission. Suddenly, the old way of feeling safe no longer works. That is what happened here. You moved through defenses they spent years building simply by being real. Now they cannot fully return to emotional numbness the way they once did. That is why their resistance grew stronger for a while. It was the last form of control they had left. But denial is exhausting when something inside already knows the truth. And they are tired now. Tired of pretending. Tired of carrying feelings they cannot explain away. Tired of acting untouched when they have been deeply moved. One part of them wants to move toward you. Another part still fears being fully seen. One part wants certainty before taking a risk. Another part already knows certainty will never come through silence. This conflict is becoming harder to carry with each passing day, and with it, something else is starting to appear. Regret. Not loud regret, quiet regret. The kind that shows up in reflection and asks hard questions. They replay moments differently now, things that were said, things left unsaid, times you reached out, times they pulled away. Through that reflection, your place in their emotional world is becoming clearer than ever before. And as this clarity grows, so does the pressure to respond. Because when someone can no longer deny what they feel, silence starts weighing more than action. Eventually, what has been building inside must move outward in some form. Listen carefully. This is not random energy. This is pressure reaching its limit. They are realizing that what came from you was sincere. It carried care, depth, patience, and truth. Instead of trusting it, they resisted it. That realization humbles a person. It changes how they remember everything. People often understand the value of something real only when distance shows them how empty life feels without it. They are feeling that emptiness now, especially in moments when the world around them should feel full, but somehow still does not. That is why the emotional pressure keeps rising. Not because they suddenly became weak, but because truth has weight. Once truth becomes heavier than fear, movement becomes hard to stop. So, if you have felt something shifting under the surface, trust that feeling. If your intuition has been stronger lately, there may be a reason. Sometimes a heart reaches the point where holding back hurts more than speaking. That is the point they are moving toward now. And when someone gets there after resisting for so long, they do not return with light or casual energy. They return carrying the weight of everything they almost lost. The idea of losing you for real has started to disturb them in a deeper way. Not the soft idea that maybe one day things might change, but the real one. The one that says you may heal, grow, move forward, and stop leaving emotional space open for them. That possibility has brought sharp clarity. Nothing reveals truth like the fear of permanent loss. They are beginning to sense that you are changing without them, that you are learning, that you are becoming stronger in your own silence. Instead of making them detach, that realization has made their feelings more intense. It has forced them to see that they do not fear loneliness in general. They fear life without you in particular. And that is a very different truth. It means you have become emotionally irreplaceable. Once someone understands that, resistance cannot keep standing the same way it did before. That is why they keep circling back to you in their mind and in their heart. That is why your energy keeps returning to them. That is why they cannot fully disconnect. Somewhere inside, the soul already chose long before the mind stopped fighting. Now the mind is losing ground. As it does, the next move they make will carry more feeling than even they expect. It may be imperfect, it may be raw, it may come after hesitation, but it will not be empty. It will come from built-up longing, from reflection, from regret, and from the growing awareness that every road away from you keeps leading back to the same truth. They are also starting to understand the cost of their silence. Silence creates space. Delay creates distance. Fear creates missed moments. Now they are asking themselves whether what was stretched can still be repaired. That question alone is making their urgency grow. They are paying closer attention now, watching your energy, reading your tone, wondering if your heart still has room for them, wondering if they waited too long, wondering if the bridge between you is still there. This matters because people move differently when they realize they no longer have guaranteed access to someone they love. Their energy becomes more intentional, more careful, more real, not because every fear is gone, but because the old way no longer works. The old defense of silence does not bring peace anymore. It only brings pain. And there is something important here for you too. Even after all the confusion, this connection has not only been changing them, it has been changing you. Do not miss this part, because your growth is just as important as their return. You learned how to carry love without chasing. You learned how to live through uncertainty without losing yourself. You learned how to trust what you feel even when the outside world gave you no proof. You learned that your value does not disappear in another person's silence. That growth matters, because if this next chapter opens, it will not open from desperation or fantasy. It will open from awareness, from two people who have both been changed by what this bond asked of them. There comes a moment in every deep connection when resistance reaches its end, not because of one big dramatic event, but because of build-up. Longing builds, memory builds, absence builds, the pressure of pretending builds. Then one day, staying away becomes harder than the risk of coming closer. That is where they are moving now. They tried to distract themselves. They tried to move on in their mind. They tried to live as if this connection could be packed away and left behind. Slowly, all of it failed. The truth underneath every attempt is now too clear to ignore. You were never replaceable. That realization carries shock with it, because once someone knows what they lost cannot simply be found somewhere else, urgency starts to rise. Not always loud, not always visible, but strong. It shows up in sleepless nights, in sudden reflection, in quiet thoughts that ask, what if I lose them completely? That whisper has been growing inside them, and it is changing them. Your absence no longer feels like empty space to them. It feels like emotional loss. Emotional loss eventually pushes honesty to the surface, especially in someone who once believed there would always be more time. Now they are seeing clearly that time changes things. Silence changes things. People change. Hearts move. And if they keep waiting, they may watch the door close on something they were meant to face, not avoid. That realization is stronger now than it has ever been. So when the next move comes, do not expect it to feel small. It may begin quietly, but the energy behind it will not be small at all. A message with more truth than usual. A conversation that opens deeper than before. A moment when they stop hiding behind distance, jokes, or safe words, and finally let what they feel come through. Emotionally, they are getting closer to surrender. And surrender after a long inner fight does not look like games. It looks like honesty. Even if that honesty shakes, even if it is uneven, even if it comes after delay, it will still carry truth. It will still carry the weight of someone finally admitting that your absence changed them. That distance taught them your value, that they do not want a future where you become the regret they carry for years. That is the edge they are nearing. The strongest part is this: they are not only returning because they miss you, they are moving because they have awakened to what this connection really is. They now understand that some bonds are not random, not shallow, not temporary. Some people arrive to transform the heart. Some people wake truths that cannot go back to sleep. You became that truth inside them. So if your spirit has been telling you something is near, do not ignore it. Stay grounded, stay clear. Stay open without leaving yourself behind, because when someone finally stops running from what they feel, everything about them begins to change. Their actions change, their eyes change, Their tone changes. Their presence changes. You will feel the difference before anything is even spoken. Stay until the end, because this final turn matters more than you think. Now we come to the last turn, the place where everything inside them becomes clearer than before. Loving you is no longer the scariest part. Losing you is. Once the fear of loss becomes stronger than the fear of vulnerability, people stop delaying. They stop pretending. They stop acting like endless time still exists. They begin to move. That urgency is growing in them now, stronger than before. They are beginning to understand that this bond was never random timing, never simple chance, never something temporary. You came into their life to wake something up, and you did. You changed how they understand love. You changed how they understand emotional depth. You changed how they understand themselves. Because of that, life has not felt the same to them since you. A heart that has been changed does not easily return to numbness. That is why what comes next matters so much. It will not just be emotion speaking. It will be truth after a long inner journey. Truth that says you matter more than they wanted to admit. Truth that says your absence touched places inside them they could not ignore. Truth that says they do not want this story to end as a lesson learned too late. So if you feel the space around this connection getting heavier, if silence feels strangely alive, if your intuition keeps telling you movement is close, trust yourself. Something is opening. Something is getting ready to step out of the unseen and into real life. When it does, nothing between you will feel the same again. What makes this next chapter powerful is not only their return, it is the growth that happened in both of you. While everything stayed uncertain, you were being prepared too. That was not wasted time. That was shaping. That was strengthening. That was teaching you how to remain soft without becoming weak and open without becoming lost. You were learning how to love without begging to be chosen. You were learning how to stand in your worth even when the outcome stayed unclear. You were learning how to keep your heart open without giving away your peace. Those lessons matter now, because if this connection rises again, it has the chance to rise differently, more mature, more steady, more honest, more intentional, the kind of connection not led by confusion, but by truth. That is the energy gathering here, not surface attraction, not temporary excitement, emotional certainty, the kind that finally says, I cannot keep acting like this means less than it does. So do not rush it, do not force it, do not chase signs just to calm your mind. Let truth arrive in its own time. Let actions reveal what words once tried to hide. Let clarity show itself naturally, because someone who has resisted a real connection for this long does not come forward lightly. They come forward changed. They come forward after reflection, after longing, after emotional awakening. When that kind of person finally speaks from the heart, the moment carries weight. Deep down, part of you may already feel it. Something is coming, something honest, something that has been trying to reach the surface for a long time. Stay with your peace. Stay with your intuition. When the shift arrives, you will understand why your soul sensed it before your eyes could see it. And when their next move finally appears, whether through a message, a voice, a look, or a quiet return, you will know this was never about random silence. It was about a heart fighting itself until truth became stronger. And now truth is getting ready to speak.